Marcella's team was actually in the top 0.15% of the 100,000, so right up there. And we found it speaking with Marcella and also Daniela, who I know is on the call as well. It's actually a team where you produce all your internal all company news for what was it, 4,000 employees, Marcella?
Yeah, that's 4,000 plus employees, yes.
Yeah. So
Local government, yeah.
yeah, can you start just by, let's introduce, maybe tell us a little bit about RER, what the organisation is, and then can you tell me about your team ORMA, which was your top performing team in our benchmarking?
Okay, as you say, we are a local government, so it's more to those who live outside. Italy is a local state, not as much as Germany, but closer to that. So we have an assembly, political assembly, and the government in itself. So there's 4,000 plus people working for it. We are 4 million people living in Regione Emilia Romagna. My team basically follows the internet. So it's an internet. I call it an internet dream team because we're really very close together. We've been working together for years. Well, at least Danielle and I. There's new people coming in. Some goes out, but the core it's always has been same people for quite a long time now. So what we do, Daniela does the news. Daniela and Massimiliano are the two journalists. I'm a web editor. I call myself a jack of all trades because that's what an editor does. From basically what I do is try to write in plain English. In this case, would be plain Italian, but you get the gist. Because of course, as government and bureaucracy, they still tend to speak in a different language. There's no way. So what we do is rewrite. Well, managing the internet means technical too, but mostly that's what we do. So there are kind of two areas, so the news and the rest, as I say. But we do definitely work back to back. That's why the team is so close. There's can be one without the other. So that's why we always we were a very close team before, and the Microsoft Teams just made it easier. But I think that the reason we are so good is I feel like
we're saying you are good. You are good. We've got the data to prove that you're good.
Well, after reading all the stories in the benchmark, I really feel like a fraud. But anyway, the reason we are so active, is because definitely we work. We must work together. Because for every news there's a page, so there's definitely a need to be constantly updated all together.
Yeah, so and I know. Yeah, Daniela, when I was speaking with her as well, who's the journalist that you mentioned earlier, who's also on the call. Hi, Daniela. She was saying that in the past, she would literally be knocking on the editor's or the boss's door. But of course, Italy, initially when the pandemic hit, Italy was one of the worst hit countries. You were in lockdown for a long, long time. So you had to work in teams. And you did, well, actually, can you explain to me, Marcella, how it looked with your team's channels? Actually, on this screenshot that Kai's shared, we've got some examples there of just your team channels. So you were really throwing around, I can see this one on the left, you've even got like photos and things like that. So you were sharing, I guess, and working out loud, collaborating on teams.
Yes.
Whereas if you had been in the office, you would have done this face to face.
Okay, maybe. No, because basically we've been on team way before the pandemic. We've been using Microsoft Teams since 2017, more or less. So we were already used to. The big difference that we didn't go in the office, but basically lots of things were already done on Microsoft Teams. So what you're actually showing here is, Daniela was asking, what do we use for our news? What piece of It was a piece of news, I think, and we were actually voting which one photo was the best to use for that particular news. On the right, I think there's a discussion on another one. So what we were supposed to do with that piece of news, I think, I can't swear it's dead, but I can't read it, but more or less that's what we do. So there's a discussion on what we on today program for the internet. What is if there's an emergency news that we have to talk about, where to put it in the internet. Of course, there are news, so something is more newsworthy than something else, and then usually there's a discussion with the people who ask for the piece of news who say, no, mine is more important than yours. News. And there's usually the bigger discussion or on comments, on the thread of comments that there are on the internet. Of course, an internet of a local government is a social network, so we need to be careful on the comments, what to publish, what is the tone of the comment, is the right tone, is it uplifting enough, or is it just lashing out? I mean, we are people. We work for the government, we're still people, so there might be someone lashing without realizing it. So, or maybe we need to cut the thread of comments because it's too long. So the important one get lost. The important comments, which is maybe an answer to a question to somebody else asked, get lost. So that's the kind of discussion we do on Teams. Sometimes they're asynchronous because maybe I'm working like on something different, or I'm talking here to you. So maybe Massimiliano is writing something on the Teams and I'm working on that later. Or quite often there are also synchronous because we are there. So we're really using all the range of possibilities the Teams offers. So that's what basically our day-to-day work. Plus there's of course some programming, but as in so programming. Sorry.
I was just going to say, from a business point of view then, even within your team, you were saying there's quite a lot of discussion and people have different opinions about things. Oh, yeah. So having that on a Teams channel, I guess there's always, a thread there that anyone who comes in, when a decision's been made, especially I guess if it's a controversial decision, any of the politicians or anyone who may question that, you could actually, from a business point of view, show them, well, this is the discussion we had, this is the information. Whereas, if that's done just in a room without, without that working out loud, I guess you don't have the trail to follow. So,
we do have lots of data, yes, to shore up our decision, yes. Even if on that side, Microsoft Teams is not, in a way, is what Laurie was saying before. Talking about one-on-one, there's lots of data. So finding those data is not well organized. Is not, if there's not a kind of architecture behind, can be problematic. So that's something I would suggest everyone to do. Organized. Think of Teams in a way you would think of a website with the information architecture in your mind. Because you then have to find what you're looking for, and it's not definitely easy. That's why channels are really important too.
Yeah, and you have quite a defined governance on your channels, at least for the ORMA team, don't you? So you have, can you explain that, your general channel, and then you have some specific channels
we have
to work
specific channel, I think everyone, well, I hope everyone does, because basically general is lots of conversation, but then we have a channel for the news, because of course it's a separate area. We have a channel for, well, also some private channel for, I'm going out, I won't be here today, so the team is always constantly updated on who's in both on Teams and on the work. We have a team on the channel on data. Say, guys, there's some data here that you think you need to look. For example, analytics data, or even SWOOP's analytics data that I think are important to everybody is involved in. We have kind of a channel dedicated to what can I say? We have a meeting. Well, we moved from one weekly meeting to more like a stand-up every day kind of meeting. Even if we are not in IT, we decided to shorten the time of weekly meetings and make a short meeting every day for half an hour in the morning. Okay, that's the program from today. We expect to have this news, and this news. We expect this problem or nothing to say today. Okay, that's gone. So that's kind of minutes of that in that channel. So even if you like today I won't be there, I can go back and see what is the program and what they discuss, what needs my attention, this kind of things. So yeah, the channel are very, very definite, and that really needs to be done. Otherwise, that's with the amount of discussion and interaction that we do, it would be basically impossible to look for anything because sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought it was really interesting how you said you actually even have a channel where you say, I'm going to be out for lunch for an hour or so.
Yes.
And we've spoken to a lot of the partners, and Jaap was one of them. He'll probably touch on this, but the importance of that is if that was just done in chat to one person and someone else in the team is looking for you, they can't find you. Whereas if there's a channel for that, everyone can be very transparent about where they are and if they're available.
I think that's really important because basically we are a team. I mean, it's not Microsoft Teams. We were a team before. We are a team. We will be a team with or without technology. So everybody needs to know that today, if anything happens, I won't be there. Okay, so they probably need to ask somebody else in IT to come in and help. Okay, or even if I'm, programming your holiday times, so there won't be any, holes in and when I'm not there, so somebody can cover for me, or simply, okay, basically even simply, okay, guys, I'm switching out. I'll be here. Mobile is on. But I'm reading the SWOOPs was benchmarking today, so I need to read that, please. I'm not. You don't say me. It seems I will be inactive, but I'll be there. So even this is important because otherwise they say, okay, she's not there. Maybe she's going for coffee or something like that. Well, I'm there. If you need me, I will be there. But let me give me time to read.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I love your priorities too. Reading the SWOOP benchmarking report.
So that's actually, I can show it. It's real post. I wasn't joking.
I love it. Marcella, actually, just when you're talking about SWOOP though, when I spoke with you, you were saying it was really interesting. You obviously, we've got the data to prove that your team Orma is one of the top performing and teams in the world. However, you thought that there was going to be a little bit more of that across the whole government, and the data actually revealed. Well, can you share with us what the data revealed?
Okay, yes. At the beginning, I was a little bit disappointed because, okay, I did expect, okay, this big pandemic, it did break, or I hope to, did break the, the mold. Maybe we are collaborating more. And when I went to SWOOPs and realized that what we did is basically copy and teams what we always did. So
in the workplace.
In the workplace.
So you were moving your bad habits that were in the office onto a digital team.
Okay.
Right.
On the other side, after talking to you, when we all talked together, I realized that maybe I needed to think about, okay, that's a pandemic. Of course, that's what we did. We recreated the structure of the organization within teams. Okay, so probably what needs to be done is clean all of those data and just take the real teams and see what that tells me. Because otherwise, I've looked all the data, and of course, I basically agree with everything Laurie say. We have community of practice, which is something that is pretty logical. We have some forums that became forums because the pandemic hit, so everybody needed a place where to ask. So, for example, the remote working remote working team. We was it worked. It started like a way to keep together people who from all over the organization who working on that. We're working from home, and we're the first people who did that. When pandemic hit, that was bloated to biblical proportion because everybody got into their teams. So from a community practice definitely became a forum, but that's what we needed then. Okay, that's obvious. What we need, a place where people could ask, okay, what do I do, or what happens next? So that's pretty logical. And it's all logical, the fact that my boss, the HR boss, decided to, okay, everybody, I will create a team that is for all the HR area, and so everybody's into that. Of course, there's not a lot of collaboration in that because it's a single one, it's a single leader team, because basically it talks and we interact a little bit, and that's logical. What we need to do is clean up all those teams, they weren't really teams, and go back to the beginning and see where the real teams are, and see if there's any collaboration in that, because otherwise I'll suicide. Because of course,
no, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's a single silos, HR that deals with HR and all the HR people. IT, they will only talk to IT. So I need to go back and see all the teams that the real teams, basically, because I know they are there. There's simply there's such a deluge of data that I need to clean that. But yes, at the beginning, my first reaction was, oh no, we are doing the same things.
This is a perfect segue. Marcella's actually agreed to share her screen of SWOOP for Teams, and this is actually the real Team Orma that Marcella's been talking about. And I'm just going to get Kai to talk through what to look for. So this is when you're using SWOOP, and this is the measurements to look for to know that these are the high-performing teams. So Kai, it hasn't screen shared yet, Marcella.
Yeah, actually, Marcella can talk to this because I know she knows it, but it's just not to put her on the spot, so I'll do it.
Okay, just give me a minute.
Yeah. Okay. And perfect.
So this is the famous or infamous, I'm not sure, Team Orma, and it's kind of, when Laurie was talking in the beginning about these, getting it from 100,000 down to these around 3,070 or to 2,700, and then looking at those absolute top elite teams and what constitutes these self-directed teams. It's kind of interesting that they had really an active member size of somewhere between 3 and 8 people, and you have exactly that. You have 8 people, right. You can see there, and over on the right hand side, the interactive users is 8 out of 8, right? And that's what we would expect from a team. If you're on the team, you're supposed to be there. So that doesn't mean that you can't have teams being used for a department where you might have 200 people, but they would never get to the numbers that team almost get into, because the bigger the team becomes, it's simply a matter of math. The less cohesive the team can be. You cannot have interactions between, maintain relationship between 200 people the way you can between 8 people. So, and the fact is that, high trust.
Sorry, Kelly. I just wanted to say that, yes, if we watch the department team, we move back down from 100 to 60%, which is basically, Yeah,
you just can't have it. And if you scroll down a little bit on the screen, that team persona that Laurie was talking about, do you remember he was talking about there were communities, there were forums, there were self-directed teams, and then that ideal team type, which is self-directed team. And as the iconic sort of representation of it shows, it's like everyone talks to everyone. And if you look at the network map over on the left-hand side, if you scroll up just a tiny bit, you can really see how dynamic those interactions are with the team members. And a lot of those lines are full lines. The broken lines represent relationships that are not one, that are one way, and all the full lines are two-way relationships. So there's heaps of these two-way relationships. Actually, there's 91% of the interactions are in these two-way relationships. So that's where we really talk to each other. That's just absolutely amazing. So these are just some of the numbers that really shows that this is a high-performing team. And of course, the really cool thing is that you then able, at least those organizations that are lucky enough to have SWOOP Analytics, can go in and find these other self-directed teams, so we can draw out these fantastic stories like the one from the Alma team. You'll also see, if we scroll down a little bit, that Team Alma is really good at mentioning, and they asking questions. The asking questions you see over on the left-hand side is represented by the Curiosity Index. You actually see little goal points in SWOOP, little goal markers, and that shows it's based on the global benchmarking that we say, well, this is what the top best performing teams can achieve. And not surprisingly, Team Alma is right there. They've met the goals, so they are very ambitious. These goals, they are set at what the top 20% of the best achieve. So. Excellent. That's I hope that's helped sort of bring it a bit to life for you. So I'll hand back to you, Sharon. Thank you so much for sharing, Marcella. Really, really appreciate it.